Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about company culture and how that is how it correlates with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if you study psychology, and in most business schools you'll have to go through a study around Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and most MBA programs you'll have some paperwork or some paper dissertation type situation where you have to respond to how important this subject is. So let's get into that. Okay, from a psychology standpoint, I always say from a psychological standpoint, it is true from a psychological standpoint, people are motivated specifically by specific needs. And this is thought to be universal across all humans and all cultures for all time. And what it is it tells you about how that hierarchy works. So you're talking about self-actualization, which is the highest need. That's at the top of the pyramid. And I'm going to include this company culture as the thumbnail for the video, so you can see that and see how it works out. But basically, first is self-actualization. It's personal growth and fulfillment. That's what's most important to all people. That's number one. Number two is esteem needs. Now, obviously, this is talking outside of physical needs like shelter, food, water, etc. This is talking about just from a psychological standpoint for mental growth and mental health. So, number one is self-actualization. That's the most important. The next down on the list is esteem needs. It talks about achievement, status, responsibility, and reputation. Okay, the third down on the list is belongingness and love needs. Belongingness is a word, right? So it's family, affection, relationships, work group, etc. This is talking about culture and clubs. Unfortunately, these days, people act like this belongingness and love needs is the most important part when you segment themselves into groups. But actually, self-actualization comes first, esteem second, belongingness third. And next is safety needs. It's talking about the things that the Constitution provides, those guarantees on needs around protection, security, order, law, limits, stability, etc. So when you talk about the failure of civilization and when cities disrupt and the laws aren't supported and followed, it causes an issue for people in that safety needs department, which is a psychological need. So as human beings, that creates a lot of grief for folks because it is part of this hierarchy of needs. So when society doesn't follow laws and things break down, then you're leaving your culture to a psychological need that is specific and it has to be addressed. Okay, so that's why when lawlessness happens in the United States, for example, that's why it's detestable, because we have laws and everyone is underneath those laws. When you act like some people outside of that, you're causing an issue here in this safety needs, which is a part of this hierarchy. And then the bottom rung of this hierarchy of needs is basic. It's talking about your biological and physiological needs, which are basic life needs: air, food, drink, shelter, warmth, sex, sleep, etc. So these are the motivations and how those are impacting you. The top to bottom, it doesn't talk about what's most important. Every individual will fall somewhere different on that chart, but that is what all people are motivated by. Okay, so what this video is going to be about is more along the lines of how this impacts company culture. And you can see right away that it will, because it's going to tell you how your culture is going to respond to these things based on how you make them feel. And here's a observation that people will want to know is that you can't fake these things. So when you provide these to your citizens or to your employees or to your team, there's no faking it. Either you're going to absolutely be able to support these needs or you're not. So to tell you where this came from, Abraham Maslow developed this hierarchy of needs in 1943. His theory is based on the belief that human behavior is motivated by meeting 5 types of needs in a specific order. And that was the physiological, the safety, the love and belonging, the self-esteem, and the self-actualization. So it starts with the physiological being the basic needs, which is that biggest bar on the bottom. That's your foundation, right? And as you work your way to the top, those bars get smaller, and it's still a big part of what you are. This has been taught through psychology since that period of time as well. And we can't help it because this is what motivates human behavior. So it motivates us in a way that we respond to things. This has been taught across the world since then, and it's a pretty strong suggestion on how to respond. So let's talk about how company culture is impacted by this. We'll start by that surviving, that bottom rung that's the foundation for the rest, which is the basic need. So in surviving, a company culture is going to support that by fair pay, job stability, and essential tools and training. So you give people what they need so they can survive. That's your training and your tools, right? The next piece is around the fair pay and the stability, because you need to have that psychological safety to be able to feel like you're there, and that's how you earn your living. So that's the bottom rung, and that makes a lot of sense. The next piece is secure, right? It's around that safety needs, security, autonomy, respect, and well-being. That has components to it to say, I need to know how my work impacts the bottom line. That's where that falls. It falls in those safety needs, right? The next step is connected. You need to belong, that belonging needs. So all this diversity and belonging nonsense that was started, it all comes back to belonging. It doesn't have to be taken out to diversity. Every individual needs belonging. Okay, we're extremely diverse as individuals, but that's how it should be said. Every individual needs to feel like they belong. And in recent efforts, the reason you see a lot of this going away across the states is because it was based around one group of people. And you can't do that because every individual has the need from a psychological standpoint to feel like they belong. So here that is in the belonging needs, and that means inclusion, sense of community, and support. Every job should offer their employees that as an individual. Okay, so that's belonging needs. The next up is the valued, which is esteem needs. People need to feel like they're valued by where they participate and where they live. And so that's recognition, appreciation, and awards. So it's a psychological need. So when you don't have that at a job, that's why you don't like it. Okay, you can't help it. You have to have it. And that final piece is that top rung, the fulfilled self-actualization of needs or self-actualization needs. You have to feel like you have a purpose. You have to feel like there's progression in your career and you're offered growth. So I'm going to make that the thumbnail of this. This is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs applied to company culture, and I agree with it completely. There's 9 keys to an amazing culture. Based on this tab, it says put your people first. I agree with that completely. If you build a great team, you'll build a great product, you'll build a great service, and you can take care of your customers better. So build a great team. That's number 1. Put your people first. If you put them first, they will feel important. This goes across that. They'll feel that esteem. They'll feel valued. They'll feel like they have purpose. They'll feel like they're included with that team. They'll feel like there's security in the fact that they're delivering something that is needed. And there's a value in them, which gives them well-being and makes them feel respected. And it also means you're making them feel like they're surviving well, right? You've got fair pay and they've got opportunities to expand that with the tools and trainings you give them. So you see how important that is to everything. Pay them well. I say that everywhere. If you're having to use other things to increase your pay within your company, if other things motivate that other than keeping your people, you're already losing, okay? Think about how bad it is in California where they just increased the minimum wage to like $21 an hour. All they're doing is diminishing the value of the dollar. The people that want to feel valued will move elsewhere and get jobs where the job situation isn't so bad that they have to pay $20 an hour. Here's the other thing too. When states give people money where they don't have to work, and those people would rather make money like that than working, that says a lot about your state too. So pay them well, take care of them based on what they do, and you'll have a motivated workforce. You won't have to go back and forth where it's a bidding war. And I've had people apply with me at companies that I've worked at, apply with me simply because they wanted to get to an offer letter. Then they take that offer letter and go back to their company so their company would match it or beat it, and then they would stay with their company. Here's my response to that. You get what you deserve if you do that. Because if you have another opportunity that valued you higher than where you were, and you took that offer letter, went back to where you were, where they didn't value enough in the first place to offer you what you were going to get offered here, you're basically forcing somebody to pay you more to stay in the mud that you're in. That's so pathetic that you had to look elsewhere to get a pay increase. Think about that. Where you're working would not give you a pay increase. You looked elsewhere, and then you use that to improve your position where you were not respected and appreciated. Makes no sense, does it? So be fair to everyone. That goes without saying. Next is don't promote toxic managers. Absolutely not. We've had tons of videos on that. Basically, toxic managers will run off all your best teammates. That's how that works. Make work fun. We've talked about that in previous videos. Ask for feedback and act on it. We talked about that regular one-on-ones so people can get feedback regularly so they can improve their situation and perform better, but also they don't have to worry about it. You're getting them good feedback and negative feedback through different times as scheduled. So there's nothing to be fearful about thinking at some point, how am I doing? Or, oh boy, this one-on-one's going to go really tough because we only get reviewed once a year. That's a ridiculous way to run a team. Next is build trust and be transparent. I think you should look at it as we're all in this together. I have worked places where the the bosses acted that way, and have workplaces where you couldn't believe that because the person was trying to cut you every single time you turn around. So building trust and having transparent leadership that shares the expectation and tells people how their work impacts the bottom line is extremely relevant and important in this psychological hierarchy of needs. Next is make work fun. We've talked about that before. Respect your team's personal lives. We talked about that time management. The way you can care for your people is make sure they have a work-life balance that is reasonable and makes them feel fulfilled in the other aspects of their life, not just the job. And the final one was give recognition and say thank you. I think you should say thank you to your people every day, and you should tell them how you appreciate them every single day. If you like content such as this, please subscribe to the channel. Please share with people that might enjoy this as well or that may need it. I'm Ben. Be good.